Cherry MX Super Black. Can I buy these? No, you cannot buy them. They are a super rare, unobtainable switch that were only made in a handful of Cherry keyboards way back when. And that was the end of that. As far as I could see, there was pretty much no way of obtaining these switches, let alone enough to make a full board. It had been my dream for as long as I'd been browsing that evening to get some Super Blacks, but I guess that they would never be mine. Which would be the case if I couldn't just make some myself, which I can, but it's a nice intro, right? It got you up to speed, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to do a dumb skit to explain. The concept of spring swapping is not new. It's been something people have been doing to their switches for a while now. You take a stock switch, you take the stock spring out, and you put in a new one. Which kind of prompted the idea for this. I thought to myself, instead of trying to find and harvest the switches out of some old keyboards, why don't I just make my own? Genius, right? I had this thought about 2 months ago, and ever since then, the journey of trying to create my Super Black switch has begun. And so by doing this journey, I have finally been able to answer the age-old question of how heavy is too heavy? So I started out by searching for some heavier springs, you know, something in line with the weighting of the Super MX Blacks. I didn't think anyone would be making 150 gram springs for keyboard switches because what kind of Giga Chad needs 150 gram springs in their keyboards? So I thought nobody would be making them, right? I'm gonna have to find something else, right? Right? Wrong. God bless AliExpress. I don't know why, and I don't know how I was able to find some 150 gram actuation springs on AliExpress, the home of the cheap and questionable keyboard parts. And once the springs arrived, I could begin. The culprit, Gateron Reds. Creamy bottom housing, clear top housing, and stock 45 gram springs. Smoothness, decent. Sound, not great. And weighting, light. Too light. Modifications. Open the switch. Unpack the switch. Throw out the weak springs for some stronger springs. Lube the housing, stems and spring. I can't really speed this part up, you know. Lubing a switches actually takes quite a long time. It's a pretty slow process. Yes, we can, Glarses. Yes, we can. With the power of editing. Mount the switches into the GMMK compact. Put the keycaps on. The end product. 150 gram actuation, 180 gram bottom out, lubed with Krytox Grey 2050. I present to you Gateron Super Reds. Looks very nice, doesn't it? And there you have it, a fully assembled keyboard with Gateron Super Reds, which I have already been using for about 2 weeks now. And so I can come to this decisive verdict with experience. It's not that bad. Okay, that's not true. Like, you're not gonna like it. It's actually more viable than I thought it would be for a lot of reasons. The weight is significant, man. Like, you people who are out there like, well, I love the feeling of Gateron Reds, but they're just a bit too heavy for me. This is not for you. But for anyone who's used to anything in the 67 to 90 kind of bottom out range, you could have a bit of fun with this. If you're the kind of person who very easily bottoms out on 70 to 90 gram switches, you'll probably actuate this switch, but you won't bottom out. This is the first switch that I can consistently actuate the switch and not bottom out. It might be because I have fairly big hands, but I would consider myself a very heavy typist. The forcefulness of the spring on the upstroke is so, for lack of a better word, forceful that it's actually very fun to type on. I got distracted, sorry. When you go to bottom out, be ready. Like, I'm not even joking. Be ready. You need to commit. There is no, it's do or die. Which again is more doable than you would think. You actually get used to it quite quickly. It does start to feel like you're using a lot more of the arm action to kind of just ram your way into the keys, which definitely isn't advised for long-term typing. I wrote a few of my exam essays with it and it wasn't a good time. Bottom out, you will get RSI eventually, so I can't recommend that. This is all well and good, but the main thing that actually caught me off guard is the smoothness and the weightlessness. I was so confused that I had to lube some stock Gateron Reds to make sure they weren't the goat lubed linear. Which they're not. But the smoothness I'm getting with the 150 gram Gateron Reds are significantly better than the stock ones. What I think it is that, say for a switch with a 45 gram actuation or 50 gram bottom out, the micro variations in force you're feeling from the friction from the stem and the housing are much less noticeable when you're using 3 times the force. I never really thought about that. That was the one thing that I didn't expect to get out of this, but it was nice. But in terms of smoothness, I would put it up there in terms of like a Gateron Ink Black or something like that, so that's very good. The Gateron Ink Black is an amazingly smooth stock switch, one of the best. The sound compared to stock Gateron Reds is muted and a bit deeper, and with some lube on the springs, a lot of that spring ping is gone, so now the Gateron Super Reds give you a pretty top clack. I'm sorry, here's the sound test. So, Gateron Super Reds, are they the new craze that everyone should start spending all their money? They're actually quite cheap. Is this the new phase that everyone should start doing? Should super heavy springs be a thing? No. That should be obvious. It's definitely a fun thing to try and use, but I just like the weight of medium weight springs. I don't think I'm gonna move from that anytime soon. Because when you get used to this board, you start typing on it like, and then every other board is kind of like that, and I just can't cheat on tactiles. Tactile don't rise up. But it was a good experiment. I had a lot of fun doing it. I definitely want to try more stuff like this, even if I don't make a video out of it. Top of my list is, you ready for this? Top of my list is 1 kilogram springs, which I can see as being very logistically difficult because the keycaps will just fly off every time you try and press it. And something like 5 to 10 gram springs to see if I can actually type with my breath, you know, huff and puff and just blow it down. My next few uploads might be a bit shorter. I've got some exams till the end of June, you know, don't have that much time to edit and stuff like that. I still post dumb stuff on Reddit like this to tide me over, but if you think that this was a really stupid idea, then why not consider subscribing to the Glarses channel? And yeah, okay, thanks. Bye.